What is going on, everybody? This is Bryce.
This is Brandon.
I'm Mark, and this is Laura.
And welcome back to ComixKings' weekly wrap-up. This is our weekly show where we break down and talk about all the week's new comics. Excited for you guys to join us tonight on our new time slot, Monday at 8 p.m. How you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Mark?
Doing very well. It's been a big day for me.
Yeah, and it's going to be cap it off because you're going to be here. And we also have something cool coming in about 20 minutes. We are going to be having a special guest known as Phillip Kennedy Johnson, the writer of Alien. First arc just started. Writer of Action Comics, which everyone loves. Mark loves.
That's why I'm here. It's the only reason I'm here.
That's why you're here is for Action Comics. So screw you, because there's also Extreme Carnage, which has been just as good.
I would have loved to hear.
Just as good as Action Comics?
I wouldn't say as good, but it's pretty good for it's one of my favorite Carnage interpretations, and it's one of my favorite. They're doing a lot of great stuff with Flash, so I'm excited for that. But we got so many people in the chat. Let's give a quick rundown. We got Mr. Rudy in here, brother Rudy Station. What's going on? One of my fellow moderators. Good to see you up and Adam. I gotta scroll all the way back up. We got the promiscuous time traveler in here. One of Legion's homies. Thank you, Legion, for bringing your homies.
What's going on,
one of our homies as well.
Hope he's one of the best of the best right there.
Yeah, I know. I've seen him in chats. We've interacted many times. We got Big Herman here, Station, sir. We got my man Chamorro Cinema Station. How are you doing, sir? We got JT. What's going on to you? And we got John in here.
What's going on, guys?
John's only here for Mark. What's going on, Steven? You read Last Ronin. I didn't. Wonder Woman from a week or so ago, which is great. And you're catching up on Batman right now. You are on the grind. I love it, sir.
I've heard great things about Last Ronin, but I've never read any Ninja Turtles, so I have not gotten to read it yet.
Right. I never read Ninja Turtles, never watched Ninja Turtles, mostly because I had an abusive relationship with Star Wars and Natalie Portman. I thought if I watched Ninja Turtles, I was cheating on Natalie Portman and Padme Amidala. So,
the connection between those things?
Yeah. That was in my 7-year-old brain. What is going on?
I was going to say, when you're a kid, you make all these weird connections to stuff that has nothing to do with each other.
And we got War Machine. What's going on? I love that. I love it. That's not true. You also like Bryce. You know what?
Oh, thanks, John.
We got Becker in here. What is going
on?
What's going on, man?
We got a pretty big group going on here today. Love to see it coming on. Make sure to stay for Phillip, stay for the comics.
Becker, real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt. Ask Becker if we should ask Phillip Kennedy Johnson the important question about Superman's name. That's kind of what Becker's known for, is pointing out the grammatical error in pronunciation of Superman's name.
Okay, great, perfect. But yeah, like Bryce said, this is the comic book show where we talk about the books we read for the past week. And let's start it out with Guardians of the Galaxy number 18. This book is now officially gone. This is the last issue, which makes me a little sad. So with that being said, you're going to see a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy being sent over into Arakko now. They're having a big part in Arakko following the defeat of Dormammu for the last Annihilation. This book is written by Al Ewing. The art is by Juan Figueri. And you have a huge cast in here, so it's kind of a shame to see them go. You have Richard Rider. You have Wendell Vaughn. I can't tell you the last time we saw them in a book. We have Mantis, the Super Skrull. We even have Doctor Doom. Then you're like your typical cast of Rocket, Gamora, Groot, Moondragon, Star-Lord, Drax, and Mantis. So, like I said, we're wrapping up everything going on right here in this. I think the best part of it is how they defeated him. While Doom was kind of out trying to do his own plot, we saw Richard Rider just completely get put into one of Rocket's creations of a cannon and just sent through Dormammu because he took over Ego. For those of you who have not been reading it, the whole premise is, hey, Dormammu took over Ego, so now Dormammu is a big cosmic threat, So, yeah, Richard Rider not Richard Rider. Nova just completely shot right through Dormammu, ended it, and then they all go party in Arakko. It's a good story, lots of fun, but I think editorial definitely said, hey, you're writing too much. Let's finish this up. So we are just going to see everything continue into Sword, which I believe the next issue comes out next week. So I'm excited for that. I know Al Ewing definitely had a lot of heart and pride into this book because it basically combined everything he took from Empire, expanded it, and took stuff from Sword and just married together everything that he was putting together in the cosmos. So look for Sword to be a very cosmic book in the near future. That's really all I have to say about his Guardians. I loved it. And
I would love to see the Guardians. I'd love to see the Guardians like kind of merge over into Sword and it kind of be an X-Men and Guardians book.
It's going to be,
because I think like it's the perfect bridge for those two worlds.
Right. Oh no, Al Ewing's not done. Al Ewing is not done with Abigail Brand messing around with everything cosmic because she's basically the enforcer of the cosmic universe, you know, and with that comes the Guardians. Al Ewing had a lot of fun, so I don't see that ending anytime soon. When Al Ewing sticks to a concept, he's gonna indulge it into your brain and he's gonna like make it happen. So I very much love that. And I love his concepts and how far out there they are. And even he's like, yeah, this concept, it's out there, but I'm gonna make it happen. So I very much like that in his writing of just the balls to even do that, you know, even to have like Dormammu take over Legion or not Legion, Ego. I'm sorry, I'm looking at Legion, but I'm looking at Legion and I'm thinking of Ego, and I'm like, they sound familiar, but they don't. Mark, what'd you read this week?
Not that. The first book I have on my pile is King Spawn, issue number 2.
Ooh, nice.
Did either of y'all read that?
I never read Spawn, so
5 issues behind on Spawn. I've read, I think I'm up to 321 on Spawn, so I'm on King Spawn number 1. I just started that today.
Okay, well I won't spoil this for you then.
Oh no, go for it. I'm like,
there wasn't much to it. Kincaid played his hand and radicalized a couple of kids to go kill some more kids because he has this thing about killing kids. He's like a really twisted bad guy. And his whole plan was to get Spawn to stop them. And the way that Spawn stops people is normally by killing them. It's kind of his thing. So he pretty much tricked Spawn into killing kids in this issue to amp up what he had going on. That was pretty much all there was to the issue. The visuals were fantastic in it. Sean Lewis wrote it. It wasn't McFarlane's writing. I mean, it was accented and had some dialogue added by Todd McFarlane, which if you read his stuff, you would realize that that's his thing, is adding dialogue. That man, like that's been one of his tropes forever. You get those pages where it's nothing but words down a page, which it is what it is. But it was a clean, smooth read. It was really good.
It's a very Steranko thing to do. You know, I think McFarlane took that straight from Steranko. And if you ever read his Shield run with that he started, that was actually Shield number 2 was the first time you saw stuff like that, little like anecdotes on the side. Cool little history fact. That is 100% a Jim Steranko influence. You know, but those visuals
are really nice.
Todd might have been born in Canada, but he's one of the greatest Americans we got. McFarlane's the man.
Don't tell TM that.
Yeah. I've spoken to a Canadian about it. The Comic Vet has acknowledged that we get to claim McFarlane at this point.
Yes. What about you, Bryce? What'd you read?
I read one of DC's biggest sleepers, in my opinion, Flash.
Yeah.
This is by Jeremy Adams. Art by who did the art? Christian.
That was by Christian Duce.
And Hi-Fi is the colorist. I think Hi-Fi was one of the colorists on Joshua Williamson's run. So it's nice to see a little bit of some carryover.
Hi-Fi and Christian Duce actually did a lot of the run with Williamson, and actually the colorist is Sinclair. Is Alex Sinclair.
Shoot, yeah. All right, then.
I heard mixed reviews from this. What do you think about it?
So I love the fact that they're just making this a fun book, kind of low stakes, very family and locally oriented. Because I think that's I've always viewed Wally West as that kind of character. Wally West is a down-to-earth, more local and family-oriented character than Barry Allen. Now, I love both of them for different reasons. I grew up with Barry. I love Barry just a smidge more, but this was great. So it's basically Wally and his daughter Iris or Irie having like a daddy-daughter superhero date.
Yeah.
There's really not much more to say than that. If you guys aren't reading The Flash,
there's actually a lot to it. It's a perfect hop-on point. Like when this run started, it was the start of Wally taking back over the reins. So the first thing they did was address the wreckage from his past, and what that is the Heroes in Crisis stain on his record that a lot of readers weren't happy with. So people like me of my generation that are my age that are spending a lot of money on comics, we grew up with Wally as the Flash. Barry wasn't even around. This is Flash. Any cartoons you watch from back in that's Wally. It always has been for us. But so they dealt with his wreckage from the past in fantastic fashion and like cleared that up. So we're done with that. So now what they've done is they put him in a setting. They've established him with his family. They gave him a place of employment and access to be a superhero while being employed and taking care of his family. Now they showed you the dynamic of him and his kids. So this has been a slow introduction for new readers, play by play, with the Spear of Destiny slowly creeping up, and it finally touched down in this. So there's big things coming, but not until everybody properly knows who Wally West is. Yeah, so I appreciate Jeremy Adams taking the time, effort, and energy to do this dude justice because he deserves it.
Yes, and I wasn't reading it. I was reading the first arc, and I said this many times on the show for the guys who haven't been watching to see a few new names. I love Wally. Wally's my Flash. So Mark and I can agree. Finally, that's the team that you guys were waiting for right there. Oh, wait. Something like that. So, yes, got him. But I didn't read it because I was kind of done with the blame Wally kind of border that Dan DiDio put on him. And they were just like, hey, we have to torture him again to get him back. And I don't want to do it, but we have to. Just to distance ourselves.
Just like torturing sidekicks, former sidekicks.
They had to go close to DiDio to get it back. And now that they're back, I'm very happy that we have Wally yet again. We got Chet saying, Legion of Comics, greetings, Bryce and Brandon. I don't like either of you, but hello. Well, thanks.
What's up, Punk?
Or just hide in here.
What's up, Scott?
We got Becker saying, Storeko is such an oddity, considered a legend, but it only has done interiors of like $30. No.
I would, if I were you, I wouldn't try your comic trivia with Becker.
And we have Bearded Comic Bro saying, what's up, Brandon and crew? What's going on, Greg?
Even if he only did like 30 issues, quality over quantity.
Yeah, even if he only did 3, if you left the mark, you left the mark.
Yeah.
But he is an oddity in the industry. He really is. He came and went really fast.
Right. We got aggressively relaxing in here. So what's going on? We got Flash 6792. We are Legion. Sometimes. Wally West, not my Flash. Get this.
Yeah, you skipped that one. I already corrected it.
You already correct. Hashtag
okay. Oh wow. It's on who you grow up with though. Like I've always said, if Barry Allen is in my top 5, Wally West is in my top 10. But I got introduced to comics through Barry Allen, not just the Flash, like comics in general,
right?
Through Barry Allen. So
for me, it was I got introduced to Barry, but one of the first people I started reading was Mark Waid, so I went back to that. And Mark Waid's Flash run is great.
See, I grew up like one of my like superhero shirts as a kid, and I still have it, was a Kid Flash shirt back in the day when you couldn't get comic merch at just Walmart and stuff. You had to order it out of previews, like the graffiti brands. And it is so faded now, just my all yellow shirt with just the red lightning bolt. Like as a kid, when you're little, like that was the point of sidekicks. You wanted to be your hero's sidekick, like. So I loved Wally and Heroes in Crisis. I read that as a kid, like how well I understood it. I mean, I still have my trade from when I was little and stuff. But watching Barry go and Wally actually legitimately take the reins was something that wasn't done very often. So Wally like grew on me through the years and everything.
Yeah, Wally, I think, was the first DC character to actually go from sidekick to taking up the mantle.
In the mantle, it might be, yeah.
Right. Let's continue on the DC train. I read Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, number 4 of 8. So we're halfway through, and I don't know if I want to be halfway through, because I feel like 8 issues is enough to tell this story, but I feel like I want more because I know after this we're not going to get a whole lot of Supergirl love, and I sometimes prefer her to Kal-El. I actually prefer her being like it's weird because when someone has something to say about Supergirl, she can be so much more dynamic than any other character of that family. If read what's his name? He did Supergirl right after Steve Orlando, and he did the whole Rogozar arc with Krypto. I forget his name. Oh, Mark Andreyko. So I really enjoyed that. And Tom King's run that he's doing right now, mentoring that young girl. And so basically the whole plot, this girl's family was killed by this guy named Krem. Supergirl finds her, and because she's like an orphan, I think you meant,
Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah. This new Supergirl issue was the best they've done, yes, because she's becoming an adult. She's 21, so like a year older than Bryce and I. Actually, she is Bryce's age now. Congratulations, Bryce. So she's dealing with a lot of adult things, such as kind of not really being a parent, but being a mentor. And they're finding this person named Krem, and they're traveling from planet to planet, interacting with different races, solving their problems. So she finds Krem, and she gives justice, and then they're off to their new adventure going forward. This book is very foreshadowing, and when you do get those kind of foreshadows, it's written in the first part of the narrator, which is the little girl, and kind of how she sees Supergirl. So it's very easy for the reader to connect with this is Supergirl, but we also see Supergirl kind of age and mature throughout this adventure, throughout the dialogue, which Tom King is able to write so great. I recommend you guys check this out. The artist by Bilquis Evely, whose world building is very great. Tom King doesn't really focus on setting up a lot of the planets because it's not really important to the story, but Bilquis makes it important to the narrative of that issue by just doing a great job establishing the setting. So I highly recommend you guys check this out. If you guys are trade weighting it, you have a lot of Tom King books to trade weight because Rorschach just ended or is ending.
So did Strange Adventures.
Strange Adventure ends tomorrow.
Yes.
But Human Target is about to kick off.
Yes. Human Target is about to kick off, and I'm very much. I don't know if I'm going to read. I don't know.
Is that still from DC or is that from?
Yeah, that's DC.
It's DC. I don't think. Are they giving it the Black Label?
Oh yeah, Tom King really doesn't like. From what I understand, he kind of only wants to work in the Black Label field at the moment if he's able to.
Right. What's going on, Rudy? He says hit that thumbs up. Oh yeah. By the way, you guys, if you guys do want to support us out, hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. I don't really say that in my videos because if you do like what you're seeing, you're gonna like and you're gonna feel obligated to. So feel obligated to join the family, join the kingdom. What is going on, Perry? Still,
what have you thought about the dynamic shift of the writing style Tom King did from the last couple years to Supergirl?
So within since he left Batman, he's done. Oh, we got Digger Jim in here. What's going on, my man?
Hey, Jim.
Local Marylander. So we've gotten Strange Adventures. We've gotten Rorschach since his Batman ended. And it's really been
Batman, Catwoman.
We got Batman, Catwoman.
Yeah.
And we got Fit in here. What is going on?
What's going on, man?
So, Tom King really hasn't been writing in this kind of foreshadowing manner, and he really hasn't been playing off of this kind of writing style. I think it's great to see him writing in this style prose that he hasn't been. I like the fact that he's going back to what he originally started with Batman. Within the first 2 volumes before the whole artist debacle came about. I think Tom is in a very comforting level right now in this book where he's able to write and establish his character and just do what he wants.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool because he went from having this odd trope of everything he was doing to was this dual or sometimes 3-layer deep narrative that goes through different time phases at the same time and stuff. And now he's just doing a straight diary reading callback because this whole book is narrated by Ruth in the future. So she's telling the story that's already happened. So it has me wondering, and I was talking about this last night,
right?
But I wonder if they're going to hit. He's good at twists. He always has some kind of twist or something. I wonder if you can't really age place this. We know she's 21, but where is he going to put this into continuity if he chooses to insert it somewhere? Is Ruth going to be someone we might know by a different name grown up?
Well, this is what I've gathered, and I've seen an interview that Tom King recently did. This is not really tying into Infinite Frontier. This is where Tom King is. They're not where Tom King is. This is where Supergirl is in Infinite Frontier. This isn't really crossing over into continuity. You're saying this is this character in this setting, in this timeline, So it's establishing her age and her activity level here. Of course, she's going to be running with the Superman family with Tom Taylor and Phillip Kennedy, who we're going to be seeing here in a little bit. But other than that,
I don't mean it tying into actual main continuity. If he decides to play with continuity, like I said, if Ruth just happens to be a character you might be familiar with by another name grown up or something, I thought that would be a cool little twist.
I don't know. Maybe
very likely, but
I don't know if she goes back to Earth with Supergirl when she comes to Earth. I could definitely see her having a run-in with Teen Titans. But I don't think the people on Teen Titans have that kind of brain power at the moment, to say the least, because that book has been a complete disaster. But
still reading it?
I'm not, but I checked in the last issue and I was like, oh.
The last issue was a glorified episode of Scooby-Doo.
Like has anything with Red X even remotely been hinted at?
Yeah, but not in the last 2 issues, really. Like they just use them on like one page just to keep people coming back. They're really trying to push this new cast and kind of capitalize on like the success of like Strange Academy, which you can argue isn't necessarily a success anymore. It exists, but it's not moving massive copies like they wanted it to.
I think it still has it still has a fan base.
Yeah, I'm not speaking on its like equality or anything. It's just people jumped on that number 1 and everything in those first appearances. Now, like it just doesn't have the hype that it had. It just doesn't.
I think it had hype in the spec market, but people who are actually like reading the book, they're still reading it because it's a great family book. I'm reading it because I love magic based stories, so I'm definitely there. And also it's great to have that writer and artist team that stays centric.
Yeah.
You've had Humberto Ramos for every issue, and it looks great. And I don't remember the last time I've seen Humberto Ramos do this level work since he started doing Spider-Man, all that, so I'm here for it. I love it, dude. I'm in for it. Bryce, what'd you read this week? What's another book you got?
Well, you like magic-based books. I really like mythology-based books, so I was all in for when Moon Knight dropped, and I thought this was a great issue.
Oh, This was a Batman. This is a Batman book. This was a Batman book.
Huh?
He beats him with a bat and just stands over him. He's like, I could kill you, but I won't.
It was a Batman, but okay.
No, it was a Batman book, but it was also like he hit him with a bat. No, I'm saying like this is literally like a Marvel Batman book. This issue was so reminiscent of a Scott Snyder Batman story.
Well, that's all Moon Knight is anyways. He's just rip off Batman.
Mark, I didn't bring you here for your Marvel.
I think that's doing him a disservice. I really like how this run in particular has been diving into like his different personas and how he's like this cool, calm. I mean, it is very reminiscent of like a Bruce Wayne Batman dynamic, but where those are facades for Batman, these are actual different personalities for Mark Spector.
Bryce, I would love to have you continue this conversation, but our special guest is here, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome back Phillip Kennedy Johnson to the channel. What's going on, sir? How you doing?
Good, man. How are you guys?
I'm good.
Pretty good, man.
Had the pleasure to meeting Mark. He runs another YouTube channel, which I'm very fond of.
Nice. Good to meet you, man.
Good to meet you.
So we haven't talked about Alien yet, which is why I wanted to bring you on. Alien new arc. You were here talking about this a few weeks ago and how excited you were for this arc. What can you finally say now that it's out?
Start of a new arc. Alien Revival. So this is there will be a couple of like loose tie-ins to the first arc, but now that the first arc is over, so it was important to me to make the first arc kind of a to kind of sum up the things that make Alien familiar, the things that people recognize about the first few movies that they really love and all that. I didn't want to take a big, huge step out of film canon for the beginning of Marvel's Alien time. So I try to toe the line between the first 2 movies and give them a lot of the claustrophobic kind of haunted house sort of horror from the first one, the body horror stuff, but also the big action set pieces of the second movie of, the iconic imagery of the Space Marine versus the Xenomorph and the nest and the queen and all that. But for the second arc, I wanted to do something that we haven't seen before in the films. And that is almost like an Appalachian Southern American kind of setting that I've always wanted to see. Hey, there's Becker. Becker's a friend. So yeah, I've always wanted to see, like, there's a moment from the Vincent Ward script that never got made of these aliens running through cornfield. It's just this really iconic, creepy image that we haven't really seen realized yet. And I wanted to kind of bring some of that to the story. So we've got a setting that is pretty familiar and more like something you'd see in old world America. It's actually an off-world moon that's being terraformed by this religious sect called the Spinners. And the Spinners are this like an Appalachian church that's been very persecuted on Earth. But the United Americans come to them and say, hey, we want you to, caretake this terraforming operation for us. because we want to compete with Weyland-Yutani. We want to do our own terraforming. We want you to run it. And if you do this for us, we'll let it become like it'll be your place. It'll be like your Utah, So they do it, and they're up there, and through an act of sabotage, something horribly wrong goes down, and then we see aliens in the context of this kind of setting that I've always wanted to see. So yeah, I'm really proud of the story. I'm proud of the themes that we're exploring in it, of faith and how people would make sense of something like the xenomorph in the context of like religious faith. And there's also a main character that I really like a lot, named Jane, who is someone who has a degenerative disease that is killing her. And if she was not a spinner, it would be something that would be treatable on Earth. But they don't allow, like the spinners are very low tech. It's almost like space Amish,
Right.
And they don't allow those kinds of, genetic treatments that would cure her. So she has no choice kind of but to watch her body, fall apart. And this is kind of this is her flock that she's with, and she has to protect them from the perfect organism. And I really like the idea of this person whose body's breaking down. Just has her strength of will, and that's all she has against something like the xenomorph. I really like the character, and I'm very excited to see what people think of her.
Right. And we did get to see another one of our alien moments that we saw in the first arc, which is the whole chest explosion, which I loved. Big shout out to John. If anyone missed the chat of Phillip Kenny Johnson's epic fantasy Little Last God, get the hardcover. It's absolutely worth it. I do have my hardcover
thanks, John.
right next to me, but it is worth it. But yeah, man, this arc is looking great. The colors are looking great. The art's looking fantastic. At the end, we did get a little bit of a cliffhanger. What do we have to look forward to for the rest of this arc as we learn about Jane and kind of her circumstance?
Well, we've got this crew that she's trying to keep alive. We're gonna learn more about the other characters. We're gonna learn more and more about how the xenomorphs got there. There's kind of this mystery about how things went wrong, and we'll see where the allegiances of her crew really lie. There's I don't want to give away too much. There's a huge ass reveal in the second issue of this arc, number 8, coming out in October, that I don't want to spoil. But there's a issue. The next issue is a very eventful one.
Okay.
And that kind of sets the stage for everything that comes next. But we kind of this journey through the moon of Eurydice, and we'll see more of that place. We'll explore some world building. We'll find out more about the spinners and how they came to be there, and how they make sense of what the xenomorph is. There's a lot of stuff in there. I really like world building. You're going to see more of their culture, and that was one of the things that I thought was really cool about Alien 3. I really like seeing the culture of the prisoners on that prison planet, and
not to mention how beautifully it was directed.
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff about that film. People get pissed about it because like such beloved characters die off screen, and I get that. But there's also a lot to love about it.
So many reveals too.
Yeah.
I have
So
not
of course
seen
it's
Alien
David
3.
Fincher.
I haven't read the Marvel current run, but I'm all over Alien since a child. Like I've read all the novels, collect all of them, and that had me wanting to ask how you mentioned there's not much from this run that ties into the last one. Are people should expect the same format of what they've known if they followed Aliens for the past few decades, where every story arc is pretty much a standalone with small little concepts that can bridge them together, but you pretty much introduce a new set of characters, don't get attached to them, or going to a different location in the next arc, and don't expect survivors. Because that's the common thread of all Aliens, period.
Yeah, for now I wanted to approach them just like the films. I want the vibe to be like the films. I want the lore to be tied in with the films the whole way through. Because one of the things that like very slowly went wrong for me in the Dark Horse series is that even though a lot of those stories are killer cool,
phenomenal,
they also started to distance themselves from the films more and more until it felt like more of an alternate universe.
They did that pretty quick too.
yeah.
Some of those stories.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine some of those stories happening in the same universe as the films, and that was my only complaint. I think there were some individual arcs that would go just fine with the films. But
do you have any plans to like visit the space jockey at any point? Because in the Dark Horse comics, they gave us the space jockey from the first film real quick, but then with Prometheus they retconned it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's you see comic versions in which you see living space jockeys. It's like elephant people and
flying around on hoverboards and stuff.
Yeah. So that is kind of an example of how things can go wrong, and I'm trying to not put myself in a position to do that again. So basically, like for an example, I like Alien 3. I think it's a really great ending for Ripley's arc, and for me, that's where Ripley's story did end.
Not a Resurrection fan.
I don't think about Resurrection though. It's to me,
Ron Perlman.
It just feels like, hey man, Ron Perlman's great and all.
Yeah, for sure.
There's good things about that movie.
It was a sign of its times,
but it feels like fan fiction to me. It doesn't feel like in my head canon, it didn't happen.
Right.
So, but 3 though is disputed. Like 3, there are some people for whom 3 did not happen too. Even though for me 3 is great, there are things about it that are not great and it pisses people off. And we've even seen that comic adaptation of like the sequel that could have been, where Hicks and Newt are still around, and you see Bishop for a bit too. So I feel like there's a plausible future in which Alien 3 gets retconned. So I didn't want to rely on Alien 3 for the canon. So
that was like real big for that's when we like first realized that xenomorphs take on the shape and characteristics of their host as well.
I know that's one of the coolest aspects of the mythology, because that's something I actually played around with even as a kid. I love the idea. Well, I mean, the alien clearly looks like humans generally. And I even before I knew that the comics were a thing, before I knew that, because I lived out in the sticks. I didn't have access to a comic store. I didn't know anything about the other comics that came out after that. And well before Alien 3 came out, I was just doodling different versions of aliens that might come out of different animals. So when Alien 3 came out, I was just like, I just did like a straight up Chuck Liddell, like, this is made for me, and I love this.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's part of the reason that I love Alien 3 so much. I feel like it was made right just for me specifically. Anyway, so yeah, I didn't want to. There's a part of me like, if teenage me got this gig to write Alien, I would have gone right off the rails with all these different animals and xenomorphs popping at everything and seeing the crazy versions of everything. But I do want to explore those things just slowly, not in a shark jumpy way, but very gradually. Because you can't just show the chest popping scene just like the first one in every arc. It's like, okay, we've seen this before. It's not going to get that same reaction. I can't even remember what it was like to see it for the first time, having seen it so many times since then, and now it's just such a big part of our culture.
Yeah,
I remember it. Oh man, that was something. That was the slowest chest break ever. Yeah,
I remember I'd actually seen the first Alien for the first time like this past winter.
What?
Yeah, I know. I was 20 years old when I saw Alien for the first time.
Me too.
So I was way too young, I'm sure.
I remember watching it right after I'd eaten dinner. And I was just like, yep, this was a mistake.
They were eating dinner too when it all started.
I was eating a Big Mac, and Bryce told me.
I told you after I'd seen it.
I still had a Big Mac and I didn't finish it.
So I'm curious though. So Bryce, so for me, this is just a part of like what movies look like, or what my dreams look like. I can't imagine not knowing that thing's coming out of his chest. Did you know that was coming, or were you not aware of what was coming up? Because to me, it's like this Darth Vader, like, I'm your father moment that everyone just kind of knows about, even if they haven't seen it.
Well, for me, there's always been a difference between hearing about it and seeing it. Like, just immensely. Like, because even before I'd seen Star Wars, somebody told me, it's like, yeah, Darth Vader's Luke's dad. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, cool. But then when that reveal hit, I'm like, okay, this is set in stone now. Like, before, people could have been messing with me. They could have been exaggerating. So I knew there was a chest burster. But when I saw it for the first time, I really didn't know what to expect. I think the only chest burster I'd seen beforehand was when Spaceballs did the parody of it.
Oh yeah.
And so when I saw it, it had this immense weight to it that these things mean business. And this is like actually a sci-fi, like Alien's part of the reason I love sci-fi horror now so much. That, and I think Signs, which I
It's
got
a-
a
so
I got a bit of
weird.
a Signs vibe from this issue too. I don't know if you intended for that to be, but I got a
No,
small
I do think
Signs
it's a
vibe.
cool movie. Yeah, but I have not. I wasn't thinking that when I was doing it. But yeah, that's a cool movie as well.
So we
Ridley
also
Scott and M. Night Shyamalan pair together. Pretty normal for you, Bryce.
Well, I mean, no, not really. I think it was just the fact that where the setting was so different than we've seen in Alien films before,
yes.
and it was kind of similar to Signs with the whole field.
The cornfields and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Because
like
with
the first time
with
you
the
see the
church-
alien in there too, he's just like
church,
coming
too,
out
I
of the
kinda-
bush.
yeah.
He's coming out of bushes and stuff.
And with the church too, like in my head, I automatically made the association to the church and There Will Be Blood.
Oh, cool. It's the churches were inspired. The church that's in the first issue there is inspired. Like there's no windows and all that. It's to me, it's just this kind of foreboding looking design. That nice.
Oh, I'm good with aliens.
Yeah.
Well, the church is based on primitive Baptist churches, and that's the
Okay.
that's what the sect is called, the Primitive Baptist.
So it's really going to hit close to home being here in Georgia.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's these
I'm in
old.
West Virginia, so I'm surrounded by Baptists.
I live
Yeah.
5 minutes from a synagogue. I don't know how to relate.
Yeah, there's a synagogue across the street from my house too.
Well,
If there's any church you need, we got it.
so Primitive Baptist is a specific denomination in which it's more old school and more kind of hardcore.
Fundamentalist.
It's like if you see a legit Primitive Baptist church, typically there's a lot of often there will be like baptisms happening like in the river, like nearby. There will be a church that's pretty. It's just kind of a very plain looking design. Very often there will be two front doors that are like just like a foot apart from each other, and one is for men, and one is for women.
And don't forget the small cemetery plot on the property.
Yeah, I mean that's just what church looked like in where I grew up is the cemetery behind it, but yeah. Anyway, it's a very specific kind of building, and there are aspects of that religion that are an aspect of the Spinners culture. It's not really a Christian religion. Like there's instead of a crucifix, their symbol is like a 7-spoked wheel. And there's this whole other like they believe in a divine mother rather than an eternal father, and there's this whole other creation myth that they believe that she spun the world on her wheel, and there's a loom and all that. It's very, very different mythology, but it's also very old school and pretty hardcore compared to what most of us understand.
Okay, yeah. So you kind of just like use the Primitive Baptist thing as a blueprint almost, but then just kind of built your own religion kind of from the ground up.
I did the church. I was thinking specifically the look of it. I wanted it to look like some of the old school churches that I recognize as church, but as far as the lore, like all the creation myths and the lore behind it and all that, it's all just ground up. It's a new thing.
And will that get explored more as far as their beliefs and values later on?
Yeah, we'll see a little bit more. You hear little bits of hymns and scripture being spoken and sung throughout that'll give you little clues about what they believe and about kind of like little rumors about where the origins of the church might lie. Which it's really fun, man. That's part of the world building I really enjoy.
And kind of speaking on the whole world building thing, we made Bryce happy, talking about religion and what we're doing with Alien. We got to make Mark happy, who's our DC expert here. We got to talk about Superman. We got to talk about what we're doing in our world, where we are in the story.
Yeah. So let's see. Issue 1035 comes out tomorrow, and that's the end of the War World Rising arc. And it's funny. Like the other day, somebody was I guess it was a week or two. I said something about final issue of the War World Rising arc. Someone's like, "What the fuck? Manga's not even been in it hardly." I'm like, "Dude, it's just the intro. Like this
Rising.
This gets us to War World. Like it's not like people thought that this was the end of the War World arc. It's like no, we're actually going to go there. Like the next arc is going to be on War World, and that's about to start. So this whole arc, War World Rising, has been the setup that takes us from where I picked up the book to where we're going to go. Because I mean, basically we're building up to the point that we saw in Future State, where Superman's on War World as a slave fighting for the lives of his fellow slaves.
And dying over and over again.
Everyone's like, what? How do we get here? And that's what War World Rising is. Shows how we got here. So we showed some conflict between Superman and the Justice League, between Superman and the nations of Earth, and kind of setting up the stage for a scenario in which Superman might go off world and the Justice League might not go with him. So we're going to see all that come to fruition tomorrow, or here in a few hours. So when the issue hits.
Right.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's all the pieces are now on the board, because if something just happened and it's like, boom, I got to go to War World, boosh, and he's gone for however long. I don't want to say how long this arc is going to be, but it just seems like a pretty abrupt decision. There's a lot of stuff that had to happen first, and plus I'm also kind of an Atlantis devotee. I really love Atlantis stuff. I always want to see more of it, so I wanted to bring that into the story a little bit.
Well,
so
you're the only writer in DC that decided, hey guys, Aquaman is still here. We're still going to use him.
Yeah.
He's in Justice League. Used quite funny though. He's like the comic relief kind of.
Yeah, that's not how I see him, I guess.
No, me neither.
It's very Super Friends-ish.
Well, it's kind of
Well,
weird.
it's funny you say that because it was the Wonder Twins. Like that's how they highlighted. They were going into a fight, and he asked the Wonder Twins for help, and what's her name turned into a bucket of water to be splashed on his face, so he can then go charge into battle. I'm like,
oh my lord,
that was hilarious. It was a great callback to the show, but it was kind of out of context. But I laughed. I legitimately laughed for a good couple seconds.
See, that's my Aquaman. I started reading Aquaman with the Jeff Johns run.
Oh yeah, that's not a joke.
Yeah, how you've been writing Aquaman when he's been showing up here and there, Phillip. That's how I've always seen him, and so I greatly appreciate you sticking to that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, to me he's like King Arthur, and it's like when we see Atlantis is supposed to be this alien culture on Earth. I always want to see more of it. And I didn't get to explore it as much as I wanted to in this arc, because it really is a Superman story. It's not Atlantis story, but I wanted to show bits of it, and just like little bits of the international dynamic, just so what it would be like to be part of a kingdom like that. I know it's not really a kingdom anymore, but he still has a lot of clout there, obviously. And I wanted to see his allegiances kind of tested, because he really does have a foot in both worlds. I want to see where he stands when he's really pushed.
Now you say you're a big Aquaman guy, so I'm going to ask, why'd you skip the fight
between him and Superman?
When Superman grabbed it, like it's like you don't. Arthur told him, "Don't do this. It's not a choice." The next thing you know, he's just coming up with it. I was on pins and needles. I'm like, "Oh, here we go."
Well, in my version of the story, there was not a fight. Like
grab and go.
He was expecting Batman, and he was gonna kick Batman's ass and defend what was theirs. When Superman comes down there, he's realistic. He's like, okay,
you can have it.
I can't stop you, but if you do this, things are different.
Yeah, it was good.
And Superman accepts it and does it. And plus, it's similar to somebody else was like, because I've been showing a lot of the super family dynamic too. So I've been asked, where's Connor in all this, man? Like, there's no Connor, and I get that, but Connor's been used in other books right now, like in different kind of way. And there's only so many pages per month, and I didn't want to have Connor just like on screen and literally not saying anything. Connor's a really cool character, and I didn't want to do him the disservice of having him kind of in the background, like, hey, and not do anything with him at all. So I felt like it was better to actually keep him off camera, and like let him do his thing with the Kent family, like the Mon Pa, and also with Suicide Squad, and just not bring him into this particular story, because it would have been just like a face and a panel and not really get used.
How often or how long are you going to let that go on for? Because that happens with a lot of characters where they're just, like it goes from one writer to the next writer where there's just not really a place for specific characters. And because like the whole list of characters in any given family, Flash family, Bat family, Superman family, it's so huge. And like we really see a lot of the same characters really focused on and fleshed out in story arc after story arc. When can we expect to see some of like the lower tier family members really step up for a story arc here or there?
Well, the story we've been setting up two stories in particular on the two Superman titles. So for right now, the one title goes to John Kent as he becomes the Superman of Earth, and the other story is the Warworld saga,
which is when Superman leaves Earth.
I'm sorry.
Which when Superman leaves Earth.
Exactly, and that's all getting set up tomorrow. And issue 1035, and the first issue of the Warworld saga is in October. Let's see. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. So there's been a lot of time and energy devoted to the dynamic between John and Clark, and that's super important right now. And because, I mean, for a variety of reasons, bringing Connor into that mix just kind of muddies the water, and it makes it not about those guys anymore, you know? So at some point, it's just about efficiency and making, like, serving that story. There's not, like, if we felt the need to get every Metropolis character in panel in every book, the stories would just be for shit. I mean, you've really got to tell stories that matter for these particular characters. And if I want to do, I mean, tell you another character I really want to use in a book is Steel, John Henry Irons. That dude is super cool.
Yeah.
Someone read Grant Morrison a lot.
There's just not a place for him in this particular story that would make sense and not kind of get in the way.
We have his daughter associated with the setup with Superman and the Authority.
Oh, I know. I was writing her today. Yeah, she's got a super important part. And she's badass too. I love that character. Yeah. But it's all about using the pieces that you want to tell the best stories available, you know. So I don't feel any obligation to use Connor right now. You know, I think Connor is an awesome character. I want to wait to use him. I would gladly do a Connor ongoing, or write him in the context of Legion. I think it'd be super cool to see somebody like him in Legion because he's so different from John.
It would do him some good to go and just like I mean that worked for me. Like I'm one of the few people, unlike Brandon, who enjoyed Jonathan being younger and wasn't a big fan of the age jump. I'm a huge fan of that.
I enjoyed him younger actually.
That's what I just said.
You enjoy him older. You enjoy him older.
Yeah, I enjoy him older because like there's such a huge dynamic between Jonathan and Damian, and now that Jonathan is older, he's almost on par with Damian mentally now. You know what I'm saying? Damian's an adult in a teenager's body. He was trained by a League of Assassins. So this gives them like they're peers finally, not necessarily in physical age, but they are actually peers. And the dynamic of the story that you're telling currently could have never happened. This passing of the torch, this insane father-son dynamic where you literally have Superman just flying through space, staring at his son, watching him be a man. Like that is just like I'm getting goosebumps now. Like I've fanboyed out over that. Like I've got 3 kids and they done made me soft. So seeing this stuff happening with Clark and Jonathan is just I couldn't imagine having just an endless kid running around in blue jeans and a zipper Superman jacket. That's not is going to be as good and compelling stories as you can do with this age. You know, you're dealing with actual stuff that's happening in society now and how it pertains to teenagers and people coming into adulthood, and that's a huge readership. Even for people who are like past their teenage years, like you're still troubled by a lot of those circumstances today. So it's actually an extremely relevant story that could not have been told with him as a kid.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of opportunities to tell really cool stories with Jonathan now that really matter. And and Tom's making the most of it. Like I'm really stoked for people to see what Tom's doing with Jonathan. We're going to bring him back into the Action Comics story down the line as well.
Fantastic.
Right. Now,
go ahead, Brandon, please.
So like I said, like I like Super Sons. I'm a huge fan of him younger. I enjoy him better now as an adult. Like once you started taking care of him, I didn't like him so much when Bendis brought him back, and it was like, oh, we're not. And to me, I love the Damian and John relationship, and I envisioned the way that they would meet up again so many different ways and their interaction sense, and I didn't like how that was serviced. But I guess once the creative teams switched, the decision to age him up made a lot more sense, and the stories got a lot better because we got more of that father-son dynamic over the lost time. I just didn't like how John's story arc was told. Okay, he's going to the future, right? He's out with his grandfather. Now he's coming back aged up, but now he's just gone again, and we're not going to talk about it. You know, that's what I didn't like the most.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got their take on it, and I've seen lots and lots of opinions on this on Twitter.
Oh, that's why
I stay away from
Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter. Twitter gets
Oh,
interesting now.
It's we've all got our take, and I'm a father, and my son and I are insanely close.
Right.
And he's a huge Superman fan, so it's been really fun to write him at any age. Honestly, like I really love writing John, and now that's Tom's book. I mean, it's this World Saga really is all about Clark for the time being, and there's things that I really want to take. Oh man, thank you for saying that. A nice comment from Fable there. So sorry, where was I? I digress. There's some things that I really want to talk about in World Saga that we're getting to do. I used to do a lot of anti-human trafficking work, and when I was thinking about what story I wanted to tell here, my mind kept coming back to Mongol, and partly because he got a lot of play in the Bendis run, but and he was kind of, and his Mongol son is very much on the table now, because we saw in the villains issue, we saw the Mongol that we know, Mongol Classic, get offed by his own son, and it kind of establishes that that's how it's done there. Like that
was awesome.
Like every son kills the father, and that's how a new Mongol gets the gig. So I've always seen not always, but there are a lot of stories with Mongol where he just seems kind of one-dimensional and often kind of like a lesser Darkseid or a lesser Thanos. And just kind of like, I'm evil for no reason, and I don't get the motivation, and I don't know, just kind of whatever. And I wanted to see more of him. And now that he's dead, and we've got his son is on the table. When I got the call to write this book, I'm like, well, now we've got a chance to make Mongol way, way cooler. And the way I want to establish what his motivations actually are. I hate the guy who's just evil just because. I want to see what made him that way. I want to see where they came from. My favorite villains are always the ones that you feel bad for, or the ones that you understand that might be right, even who see themselves as the hero, not just as the winner, but as the good guy. So this Mongol that you're about to see a lot more of, this is one that Superman has not met in person yet, and we're going to see why he's so much scarier than his dad and his grandfather. We're going to see why he believes what he does, why he wants what he wants. Yeah, he's going to be a way more interesting character. And one of the ways I'm doing that is I'm making him a slaver. Like we've kind of built a cult of slavery around Mongol on Warworld. Warworld is no longer just a big metal planet with guns sticking out of it. It's a world where people live, where the Warzoons live. It's their home world, essentially. It's where, this conquerors race, like they strike planets all over the universe. They kill as many as they can, they enslave as many as they can, and then the enslaved just live out their lives on Warworld ever after that. And so it's kind of become this like almost like this sanctuary for the last remnants of all these dying species from all over the universe. It's like this preserve of slaves.
That's pretty cool.
100%.
Now, there's a very important question. Who brought Mongol all the severed heads?
I can't tell you that.
So we got to figure that out.
That's like the biggest spoiler I could possibly.
Yeah, that's why I went straight to it. I was hoping, but I kind of have a feeling that Mongol might not be the end all be all villain of this arc. Whoever that is who had the nerve to do that and bring it to him. I mean, obviously it was a favor, but still.
Yeah, ballsy move, right? You don't know how
ballsy move. It was a cool response, though. He's like, "Yeah, appreciate it. Saved me the trouble."
Yeah, I know. I like how all of his generals were like, "Oh, I'll kill you. What a shitty thing to do."
Give this man some chains. He's awesome. Yeah, give this man some chains.
Yeah. It's always the quiet ones you got to worry about, and this dude just kind of slipped in and slipped out. We haven't seen much of him since. So he's
Another thing I was curious about is how far, I guess time wise, are we going to have to go before we get to the original content that you're doing now versus the inevitable potential future state world? Because we're starting to see this month titles finally deviate from the path of future state. Because we had future state, then we reverse time and we saw stuff start going toward future state, and we saw like Shazam finally deviated. We saw Obviously, Fear State is going to deviate. We're not going to end up with an inevitable Future State conclusion. It's a potential world. We're seeing stuff start to finally branch off a little bit. And Superman's just now leaving, so timeline-wise, how far are we going to have to go before we're getting? I don't want to say it like it sounds petty, but original content again. Because
the end game is what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah, we've been given the ending of all these stories, and now we're having to trudge through knowing what the end is, waiting till we deviate for a while. So as a DC reader, it kind of feels bogged down at times when you're like, okay, though I haven't read this book, I knew exactly plot-wise where this was going because I've already know the ending.
Well, you didn't see the ending.
Exactly. So that's my point. Until it deviates.
What you saw in Future State World of War is kind of the beginning, like the meat and potatoes of where we're going. But there's
yours is going to go past Future State, where a lot of them aren't even getting to Future State.
Yeah,
also.
we're going well past Future State.
Yes.
Future State is kind of like the setup for what's coming after that.
Midnighter, the new black racers coming. Hell yes, all that.
Mark is happy, guys. I've never seen Mark happier. I just want to point this out. I've never seen Mark this happy before.
I'm playing the long game for sure.
Good. I'd like to hear that.
Because we've seen, if you go back into the distant past of Superman's stuff, there's been other stuff with him on Warworld. Like you can find other things with him, like a Gladiator kind of. It's just like in and out. It's like boom, he's a Gladiator. Now it's over. Cool, back in Metropolis. And I wanted to tell the story that's more like, the Phoenix Saga, Dark Phoenix Saga, where it's like this thing where you could go and pick out this big ass thing off the shelf, and there's this big contained story, or like I don't know, where's some other ones.
Just an omnibus, pick an omnibus.
Yeah, Age of Apocalypse or whatever. It's these big stories that are
sagas.
A theme, big stories.
Annihilation.
How many times are we going as the readers going to get to watch Superman die while he's on World? Because that's something that's resonated with me since Future State is when Mongol is basically keeping him depowered, letting him die, then bringing him back to do it again.
I don't want to say that it's that. Okay, there are little details about that Future State story. Like I was trying to do the very best version of a Future State story in that, and now I'm trying to do the very best version of a monthly book. So there's not gonna be that exact moment in the arena again. We're not gonna see that play out a second time. It's the Future State story is kind of a summary of what's coming.
Nice.
There's gonna be characters in the monthly book that were not in those two issues. There's gonna be here's an example of why. So after I wrote that story, after it was drawn and everything, DC put out a timeline in which it said, like somewhere it was put online that this story happens 10 years in the future or whatever. But I never said that in the book, and we never talked about it in the office. That's just something some guy kind of just decided.
Went with.
So that's not a number that I stick to.
Right. And we also got one more book coming out from you next week. Extreme Carnage is kind of wrapping up. So let's talk about that for a quick minute. You don't mind?
Yeah, sure. No. So Extreme Carnage is that's an 8-issue series that we've been doing. It's been kind of a writer's room situation where they brought me in to write the first and last issues of that series. And then they brought in Alyssa Wong, Steve Orlando, and Clay McLeod Chapman to write 2 issues apiece as well. Each issue focusing on a different symbiote. Kind of reestablish the status quo of the symbiote world post King in Black, like without taking Venom into the mix, because he's got his own thing going on. Because we saw Carnage during the lead up to King in Black, and we saw the Life Foundation symbiotes kind of show up as well, and Flash returns and everything. So now we're seeing where all those guys stand, and that's been really fun. The Alpha and Omega issues, the ones that I wrote, I really wanted to keep this story very separate from other Carnage stories you've seen in the past, where Carnage is not the most complicated of villains. He's cool for sure, and or they're cool, I guess. Yeah, you refer to them in the plural, but Carnage is. I
gotta hop off here, guys. I appreciate y'all inviting me on, dude. It was awesome talking to you, Philip. Hate to interrupt.
Yeah, you too, Mark.
Yeah, gotta head out.
Cool, man. Enjoy the books.
See you, Legion.
Mark.
Take it easy.
Let's see. What was I saying? So there have been a lot of other Carnage stories where it just revels in the guts, right? It's just like, I'm Carnage and I'm gonna kill everybody, and he just gets in there, and it's pretty straightforward. And some of those books are really fun, but I don't want to just do another one of those because it's already there. If people want to see Carnage mow everybody down, that story's been told. And I really want it to be different. And the fact that we just got out of King in Black gave us a rare opportunity where we could really kind of change things. And between that and with current events in real life, we wanted to take a different tack. So I pitched them. This Marvel symbiotes meet the Manchurian Candidate, where it's like this political intrigue happening, like this political conspiracy, and we kind of gives us a chance to establish like a good guy team of symbiotes and bad guy team of symbiotes. We got the Life Foundation guys everyone knows, and you've got kind of like an X-Force kind of team,
right,
led by Flash, Flash Thompson, that is, not the Flash.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was just really fun, man. I wanted to use a little bit of like spycraft intrigue, kind of like spy versus spy type stuff, and that finally wraps up this week. And they let me take the gloves off as far as the violence, which was cool. I mean, because I was like, hey guys, it's a Carnage book. We're allowed to do rated R, right? And they're like, yeah, dude, you can do rated R. So we pushed it a little bit. There was one scene, I think we did have to walk back one page where the gore was so intense that the note from the editor was just, I think it was just G, like G-U-H. And or maybe with some dots in there. And like we might have, when I saw it, I was like, we might have to revisit this. And we did. We had to tighten it up just a little, or recovered it with some sound effects or something. It was not quite as, it's still rough when we get to that page, but not quite as rough as it was going to be.
Right.
They need to release an uncut version of this.
Yeah, I gotta see those original pencils, man. You know,
we should find. Yeah, I'm sure Manuel's going to sell the pencils for. Like, wow, you can see his actual lungs in this one. That's a lot.
That's great.
But anyway, but no, they really let us go wild with the. I mean, it's as gory as it ought to be for a Carnage book, you know.
Right.
And but yeah, it's also kind of a political thriller. So it was really, really cool. I had a great time with it. Writing with those other three writers was an incredibly good time. Everyone put a lot into it. It was really cool.
Right. The cast that you guys had, Orlando, Alyssa Wong, Chapman, they're all great writers, all on the come up in Marvel. So it was great to see kind of everyone just come together. You know, and I was actually at the Third Eye signing. You know, got to meet them all.
I know, man. It's good to see.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, no, Steve's been on the show before. I believe he's coming back. I'll have to double check with him. But you know, it was great seeing everyone else there. So thank you for making that happen, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, it was really. You really get everyone's voice in their issues, which is cool. Like when you read, like Alyssa wrote the Riot and Agony issues, I believe, and those sound like, especially Agony, really very clearly sounds like Alyssa.
Yes.
And Steve's like very distinct writer, Clay too. Like both of their issues sound just like them, and it's really like the writer's room approach was a really cool thing because then every character, I got to go back and read their issues and try to make certain characters sound like those writers. Like when I was writing Toxin, I very much tried to keep Steve in mind, and you know, the same for Agony and the others.
Was it a little bit more difficult doing so?
No, I mean you should always be careful not to just write everyone with your own voice.
Right.
Like there are certain writers, even writers I admire, very talented. Sometimes there are books in which you read them and every character seems to be speaking with the same voice, kind of. That, I don't know. That's one thing that I try to beware of in my own writing. I don't want everyone to just be my mouthpiece. They should all have their own motivations, their own voice. They have their own history and motivate. You know, it's just something that really matters to me. So it was actually very helpful to be able to go back and read those other issues and their dialogue and kind of try to hear those voices in those characters' heads.
Right on, man. And I know that you were kind of pressed for time coming on here, so I do appreciate you for making it happen. I hope the tour went well in New Jersey. Glad to see you back here. Yeah,
man. You guys too. Thanks for having me back. Sorry I got to run, but thank you.
No, you are.
Real quick, are there any questions or anything from the chat before I jump out?
Chat, if you guys do have any questions, if you guys do want to ask, we can do a little Q&A for a minute or two.
Yeah. If anyone's got a question, I'll knock one out real quick, and then I'll get out of here. Let me just look. I got some nice comments here. Thanks for the nice words, guys.
While we're waiting to see if anybody does have any questions, I do want to say just one more thing on the Superman. When I was reading it, I liked how, like, especially the dynamic between Clark and John. You know, you and Mark were talking about how you put yourselves in Clark's shoes, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I put myself in John's shoes because me and my dad have that kind of relationship.
Oh,
and so I just wanted to say I really enjoyed that dynamic there from John's perspective.
Oh, that's really awesome to hear, man. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, Eric, thanks so much, man. Well, okay. So Eric asked why Last God's not back yet, and that's a very kind thing. I really love that book. It was. Any plans on bringing back Electric Blue Superman? That's a hard no. I'm sorry, not yet. I mean, if there's a cool way to write it in, maybe, but I'm not. That's not on the table just yet. Let's see.
Last God.
Yeah, sorry. Where was I? Yeah. Okay. So if you read the last issue, the whole, true to form, I'm always writing songs in my comics. It's like my signature. And the whole thing kind of ends with a song, right? At the end of issue 12. And that song that Hakon is singing is kind of a tease for what I'd like to do for my next arc of that. Like there's a bunch of different arcs we could do for the second book of the Felspire Chronicles. But there's one that's really stuck in my head pretty hardcore. And that's the one I intend to do next. And it's actually a prequel to Last God. And so characters that we see explored a lot in the back matter of Last God are Q Lee, Queen of Rivers, and Ruark, the guy who's like this super duper psycho who kind of he laid the seeds for the creation of the Guild Eldritch. And he's a guy who started out as just as a warrior of the Rivermen, who was captured and became a prisoner of war for some time by the Elva and kind of lost it and ended up getting free and doing all kinds of horrible things to make it back home again. Right. By the time he got there, he was kind of a wreck psychologically. And then he just kept going further and further off the rails. So these two are diametrically opposed enemies. And we also find out that Hakon is actually a lot older than he looks. So those are the characters that are described in that song at the end. And I would love to go back and revisit that crew back in the day and see Hakon back in his heyday.
Right. I would love to see you and Ricardo team up again. That would be so bad.
Well, that's happening for sure. Actually, so this is not a spoiler because I think this book is announced. But when does Gotham City Villains come out? Is it October or November? You guys know?
October by Dan Widers and Danny.
Huh?
By Dan Widers.
No, that's that's
an Arkham Asylum book, I think.
Arkham City. Something of the world. What's that called?
I think it's coming out. Then if it was just on solicitations, it would have been December or November.
Okay. Anyway, it's an anthology. It comes out either like Halloween time or November, but it's an anthology in which Danny DeVito wrote a Penguin story. You probably saw that in the news somewhere. And in that same issue, I have a Ra's al Ghul. There we go. October. Thank you. I have a Ra's al Ghul story drawn by Ricardo in that issue, and it is dope as hell. So look for that.
My favorite Batman villain, dude. Come on.
Yeah, Ra's al Ghul. I love the Al Ghuls, man. Talia too.
Oh my god.
And that story is actually all about a chess game between the two of them. I love the imagery of the two of them playing chess.
Yeah.
And this is a first ever reveal. But my dad and I used to play chess via the mail. For a long time, where I would write a letter, or he would, and he'd write a little code for a chess move, and then I'd make a move. I'd have a board in my room, and I'd move it, and then I'd write back, and I'd write my move on there too, and we'd play chess games like that over the course of however long. And I always loved the imagery of Batman and Ra's al Ghul playing chess. I used to play chess like pretty seriously.
Oh man, we gotta play one of these days.
Yeah, sure. You better bring it.
You know what? I will bring it.
But yeah, no, I love chess. I've not played competitively in a long time, but and it kind of it bothers me when somebody like they just kind of throw in a random chess term and it doesn't really mean anything. Like you can tell they don't really know what they're talking about. And because I'm like a chess nerd, so I wanted it to be a serious game. So the game that they're playing is actually I sent Ricardo pictures of the actual chessboard in a particular position. Like here's what happens next. Here's what happens next. So we're actually recording a real game from history, like between two very prominent players of the 19th century that I admire very much.
That's awesome.
Because I want people to look at the board and be able to take it apart and see like, okay, these guys it's not just gibberish. Like they're actually playing a real game. These are two actual chess masters.
That's awesome, man.
Which Bruce Wayne and Ra's al Ghul, if not, they would definitely be chess masters.
Yeah.
On top of everything else.
That's how I feel about it too. So whenever I see a game and somebody is talking about, oh, I see you have the Ruy Lopez, in finishing move or whatever, like Ruy Lopez is an opening, fucko. You can't be talking about Ruy Lopez. I'm a chess nerd, so I wanted it to be real. So we now the whole I don't want to scare anybody. The story is not just, you're not just watching a chess game. Like it's just like this kind of the underpinning of the whole thing. And actually there's a lot of action in it too. But the chess game between the two of them is like you're seeing like a real competition between the two men. It's like they're fighting as they're also having like a debate, like a philosophical debate.
Right.
So anyway,
I know I was kind of racking on Bendis a little bit, but I actually like that was one of my favorite styles that he wrote in was when it took me back to like Avengers Illuminati, and you just had a bunch of people in the room just talking. It was like the best dialogue. So like just hearing you talk about this book, I'm like, we're gonna get the best dialogue in this book that we've had in a while of Ra's al Ghul.
Thanks. I hope so. Yeah, it's like I love the idea that Ra's al Ghul wanted him to be his heir, and and we explore what that would be, like how that would look if he actually accepted. And actually, it also ties into a Batman Superman Authority book that I've got coming out in November. Like this, the short story ties right into that book. Is
it a spinoff for that? What Grant Morrison is doing with their book?
Yeah. There's actually a scene in. Let's see. Sorry, I'm kind of bouncing all over the place. So in this book that comes out tomorrow, the Action Comics 1035 issue, there's a scene in which Clark and Batman talk about the Authority for just a moment, and then that leads into the November Batman Superman Authority story. And then that connects into the beginning of my Warworld saga.
There you go. Oh, it's all coming together. I love to hear it. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And you got to bounce. You're welcome back.
I promised to answer a question.
Oh, okay. Let's answer another question.
Promiscuous Time Traveler. That's a cool name. How long is the timer for this game? They don't use a chess clock. I hate those things. They're not using a clock in the game. Actually, wait. Do they? No, I don't think there's a clock in the art. But I definitely did not call for one in the script. Any stories you've written that in hindsight you might have done differently? It's funny you ask that. Low Road West was a story in which I had a very clear vision for that story in mind. And the editors kind of had a different story in mind. Like we had some differences of opinions about which way the story ought to go. And in retrospect, I don't know. There's not like a specific moment where I felt like the book went like wrong, quote unquote. But that was a story in which there was more conversation about which way the story should go. And I kind of wish a couple of things. I wish that the sales had justified. This is before like Boom's marketing had gotten so killer, because now they're selling stuff like, these big Tynan books that sell really great. Back then that wasn't really the way that the Boom book works. The Boom books worked back then, where you would do a miniseries, and if it hit really well, then that would justify potentially doing another miniseries or making it ongoing. And the sales didn't quite justify making Low Road West ongoing. I wish we'd had a longer run at Low Road West because I seeded all these things that would have played out in later arcs. Which now it's just kind of these little nuggets that never got explored, sadly. So I would have liked to have had a longer runway for Low Road West. And I do wonder what that book would look like if I was writing it kind of in a vacuum and not with other editors to bounce stuff off of, because it did change a lot from the original concept. So yeah, Low Road West is a book I'm a little curious about where it might have gone if we'd had more time with it.
I mean, with Boom doing what they're doing now, you think you might revisit it at any point?
I don't know. I hope so. I mean, I'd love to. I mean, if I had to pick one book to do more of, I'd love to do more Warlords of Appalachia. That book, there's a lot of me in that book. That was really fun, and I still talk to Jonas Scharf a lot, a great German artist who's done some really cool stuff since then. Becker.
That name's very familiar.
Becker's really cool. He's a good guy. He Becker, back when all the comic shops were doing really poorly, in the opening days of COVID, there was this big, people were like donating money and asking to, like, offering things to donate in return for, donations to various causes. And Becker gave very generously. And I promised him a bunch of like behind the scenes stuff, like pencil, like maps and language fragments and music notation stuff and notes and all kinds of things, original scripts from and signed books from Last God. And it took fucking forever getting them to him because I was just drowning in work, and he was super cool about it. So big shout out to Becker for the money he donated and for being such a great fan.
Appreciate you, Becker. Appreciate you stopping by, brother.
For sure, man, for sure.
Anyway, I probably should go now, but thank you all for your time. Thanks, Becker, for showing up, and all the other people for the great comments and questions.
No problem, man. You're welcome here anytime you have an announcement. The show is just as much ours as it is yours.
Thanks, brother. All right, it's good to see you guys.
You too,
Good
man.
seeing
Take
you
care.
too, man. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, you guys. That was Phillip Kennedy Johnson. Wow, look at that. And we that was awesome. That was awesome. I was told he's only going to be here for 15 minutes. It turned into probably an hour, probably like 45 minutes. Thank you guys for sticking through.
It's always good when he's on here.
Yeah.
Great conversation.
Perfect. Couldn't ask for a better guest to come on here. We had Mark. We
Get
had
some books
Phillip.
added to my to be read list.
And we have the death
up.
of. Yep. We got to talk about the death of Doctor Strange. As this book is. Okay, so the last time Doctor Strange really got some seminal work was Jason Aaron's run and what Donna Cates did shortly after. This book retcons a lot of stuff that was going on there, takes a lot of the same ideas, such as Bats the dog, who was kind of leading the charge in this book. Didn't even know Phillip Kennedy Johnson was going to be on. That's why y'all got to tune in every week. You never know.
Tune in, man.
On here. We'll have creators on here all the time. You guys know how we roll. But anyway, so we're dealing with stuff that Doctor Strange is waking up with, and Bats wants to go on a walk just to kind of keep him in his young-ish spirit. We get a little tale from Wong. So Jen McKay is saying, okay, guys, I've read a lot. I'm going to show you guys what I've read. I've read The Oath. I've read Jason Aaron's run. I've read stuff in the Silver Age. I've read a lot, and it's all going to pay off here in this kind of murder mystery. He's like, I've read Matt Fraction's Hawkeye because Bats is going to talk about the dog, Lucky, right? So Doctor Strange is like kind of balancing his life, not only as the Sorcerer Supreme, but also as a doctor. We're leading through also the art is by Lee Garbett, who did Captain Marvel, also did Skyward with Joe Henderson and Shadecraft, which is also their collaborative project. But we're dealing with all of this. We're dealing with him and this guy named Pavel who got into this mystical what's it called? What is it called? There's like different dimension kind of crossing over into him that's also kind of like exploding. Now the story is written in like kind of 2 chapters, so we're leading forward into this one, and then we jump to Doctor Strange being at Strange Academy. So we're giving that its respect, and him teaching a class, and he's like, well, the next Sorcerer Supreme might be in this room. Gives us something to look forward to, and then we see him cut back, doing what he's doing, and then something comes for the door, right? And we don't know what it is. We don't know what it is, but it kills him. It stabs him. Spoiler alert: death of Doctor Strange. He dies. But we're talking about the sorcerer at the beginning of the book, and I'm probably gonna butcher his name, but it's Kosechi.
I think it's Koshii the Deathless.
Koshii, yes. Koshii the Deathless, who hid his soul somewhere, so if he died, his soul would be back, So Doctor Strange dies, and he wakes up, right, kind of leading into the next chapter, as the Silver Age one, which that This is the Doctor Strange from Strange Tales. I believe 114 was the first appearance of the Blue Cloak of Levitation of when he obtained that. It's the Silver Age because it's the Blue Cloak of Levitation, not the red one that was gifted to him later on. So basically, the Oath Doctor Strange, the one from World of Realms, the one from Jason Aaron's run, the one that set up Strange Academy, right? He's dead.
He's dead, yeah.
And this younger version of Doctor Strange has to basically relearn everything, or will have to relearn everything. We bring back a lot of ancient villains. We also bring back Zelma Stanton, who is a key role in Strange Academy now, but was also in the Jason Aaron run. I believe that was when
she was introduced in the Jason Aaron run, I think.
Yes, we brought back Mordo. We kind of saw what he was doing. So this is all cool. Magic is there. Every sorcerer that you've seen, with the exception of Loki and Doctor Doom, are in this room as we're standing over his body. So it's not like, okay, we need to figure out who did this, but also how will this younger Doctor Strange move forward.
Also, I love the little hint in here to The Last Annihilation. Like, this book is really connecting a lot of what's going on in the Marvel Universe right now and has gone on in the past probably 5 or 6 years.
Right. Yeah. Even connected with War of the Realms, with talking about how all the other dimensions kind of lined up to bring us that. My jaw is really killing me. For those of you guys who don't know, I got a hairline fraction.
Broke its face.
But yeah, basically. Heard so much how much you don't know about Marvel DC. That is all
there's
good.
A lot.
There's a lot. There's a lot to dive into. It's why you guys gotta watch ComixKings, right? But I like this book. I don't think I will. I don't know, because either I will love this book or I think it'll be very lazy. I think at times it's like we're just going to throw stuff in here just to bring upon everything you know about Doctor Strange or how much you don't know about Doctor Strange, right? Or we're going to bring back all of it and not pay it off, I'm kind of in that boat.
Depending on how this book goes, this could be one of those places where you're like somebody asks you, it's like, hey, I want to get into reading Doctor Strange. Where should I start? I don't if they don't want something too heavy, this could end up being one of those books. Right. I think that's really good, especially with the movie his second movie coming out next year. Doctor Strange hype is arguably bigger than ever, even bigger than when his first movie came out.
Right. So I like the retcon of the Silver Age then. It's weird because in the movie he has the red cloak of levitation. He never started out with the blue one. So I don't know if we're gonna go back in time and see that, or we're gonna get the blue cloak of levitation if they are gonna spin it that way, or even if it is gonna show up. Multiversal version, maybe. But I don't know. My whole point is either I'm gonna really love this book and be on board, because I feel like Doctor Strange is only relevant when a writer has something to actually say about it. Not here's a name who doesn't really care for the character. Like I love Mark Waid, but he didn't really do anything great on Doctor Strange. Or we just got to leave him go, So
there's a lot of Marvel characters like that. I personally feel that way about Captain America. I don't think Captain America should have a run unless there's something to say about the character, because he's been around for 80 plus years.
Right. Jen McKay and Lee Garbett, I think, are the perfect team to do an ongoing. And clearly Jen McKay's like, I can do an ongoing if you guys will let me, because I could bring this out, Maybe Jen McKay will end up writing an ongoing Doctor Strange post death of Doctor Strange and continuing with this kind of Silver Age being in the modern world. That would be a great way to catch up on Marvel's continuity that nobody cares for. So,
which after this issue, if it keeps up this pace, I hope he does get an ongoing by Jed McKay.
He always needs an ongoing. He's that popular.
Okay, popularity wise, yes, but story wise,
Story wise, at this point, I'd rather see Sam Wilson as Captain America than Steve Rogers.
I'd be cool with Bucky. I'd be cool with Bucky being Captain America.
I would be much better with Sam, because I don't like Nick Spencer, but I loved his work with Sam Wilson. I think Ta-Nehisi Coates would have done a lot better with Sam Wilson as Captain America, but he dropped the ball with Steve Rogers because he ran out of things to say and just put him on a team with all females, and it was kind of the who can work with Captain America the best show. So that's, I don't know. The days of seeing a Brubaker Captain America run, you're never going to see anymore. I'm sorry. You're not going to see them.
maybe not that high level, but I think we could get something close if someone had something to say about him. It's like, okay, Captain America to me is like Marvel's Superman, where he can be a very bland character if the story isn't that. Which is part of like Phillip Johnson has a genuine story to tell for Superman, which is why this run so far has been so electric. It's the same kind of situation with Captain America. If you genuinely have something to say about Steve Rogers, you could get some of the best superhero comics coming out of that.
100%. And it's really about, you can say that with any character. I feel like Doctor Strange and Steve are the exceptions. Like you can really do that. When I'm interviewing Alred, not in the near future, I have never spoken to him. If you guys
I thought that said Alfred. I'm like, Pennyworth?
No, Alred. He did an indie book that it was in crossover. Why can't I think of the character's name? It's like right there. But he also did work on Silver Surfer with Dan Slott. No, it was in crossover as an indie character. But I'm sure the chat will take care of that for me. But I'm really excited for a Cap book again. I don't know who the writer is, but I'm up for it. I would love to say Jen McKay could do a good job. I would love to see what Clay McLeod Chapman would have to say about him. I think that would be a great book for him. I don't really like what Christopher Campbell's doing with the character right now. I think he's juggling too much.
Honestly, I think Phillip Kennedy Johnson could do it.
Yes.
Personally.
What's good? Real rude.
Obviously, Chip Zdarsky would be a good answer.
Yes, Madman. Yes,
I said Madman.
Oh, I just didn't listen to you.
What else is new?
This is the dynamic of the show, but Creators Corner in the future is Dan Watters and Danny for Arkham City. We have Matt Fraction and Terry Dodson for Adventure Man, and we have Patrick Gleason coming up in the near future, and I think Tyler Kirkham. I'll have to double check. I've booked you for Creators Corner up until January. I just don't have locked in dates of it's set in stone. Oh no, not Alred. No. That was somebody else. I said, but not Alred. But I would love to one of these days. That would be dope. But yeah, that's of Doctor Strange. I would pick it up. It's a great experience. It's a lot of fun, and it carries weight. You can't really say that a lot about Marvel Comics today, so definitely. Daniel Warren Johnson Cap, no, because it would be rushed, delayed, or I just want him to do a mini series and say stuff about niche characters. For example, if he ever wrote a Sentry book, I would be all in for it.
Well, I don't know. He was able to tackle Wonder Woman in a if he wanted to do Captain America post-apocalyptic,
maybe
that could be cool.
Post-apoc, I don't know, because technically Dark Ages is post-apocalyptic, but also pre-apocalyptic for like another one. But so we're getting it
during apocalypse.
It's like during and after. So it's like we already survived. What are we ready to do another one?
Well, I
don't know, maybe. What is Daniel Warren Johnson's next project? I wouldn't mind seeing another Silver Surfer on the radar if he's going to do that. My text, actually, this is the rock spray. This is the rock spray. So it's like just the Under Armour thing.
Daniel Warren Johnson, man, it's tough thinking about what kind of characters he could do.
You got the Reader channel, and I love this is actually my favorite compliment because that's what we're all about here. We're all about what's inside the pages of the books. Go on, Bryce.
Well, I was just trying to think of what Daniel Warren Johnson could do specifically for Marvel next.
For Marvel, I'm still stuck with Sentry. I think what was great about Beta Ray Bill, it was so rock and roll. I think Daniel Warren Johnson would do something that'll show more versatility. So, yeah, I could see him doing some Man Thing. I could see it. I could see him making me like Man Thing. I could also see him doing like a Quasar book or something like of this sort. I could see him completely doing like something cosmic. A Starman, I don't know, because Starman is so out there with its culty fan base.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone. I think Starman is so contained it shouldn't be touched.
And it's tough too for these writer artists where they're pretty much doing it all by themselves. I mean, they have the colorists, they have their letterers, but as far as the scripting and the penciling goes, where it's all them.
Hear me out. Blade miniseries, Daniel Warren Johnson drawing vampires. Boom. I said it. Daniel Warren Johnson writing Blade with, oh yeah, come on now, with Mike Spicer's colors. Come on now.
Honestly, something I wouldn't mind seeing him do just to see his art style on. And it would either be really good or it would suck. But I'd be interested to see it. He's an exploration of Bullseye.
Maybe.
In like his headspace. Because I feel like where his art style is very, I don't want to say sloppy, but it's very like, I don't know, very gritty.
Right.
That's the word, gritty.
Bryce, how about you talk about Nightwing for us? Talk about Nightwing for us.
Talk about Nightwing. Okay. So this is a Fear State tie-in, and I'm just going to go ahead and say this is the weakest issue of the run so far. But that's still not saying much because the run has been probably DC's best book. DC's like probably their most popular book at the moment outside of Batman. And this issue was still really good. We had who was it? Robbie Rodriguez on the art.
Spider-Gwen, which I love. I met him before. Great dude. Solid.
It took a few pages for it to grow on me, but once it did, it really started to work for the context of Fear State.
Yes.
And especially that panel with Batman like jumping down off the roof.
Yes.
So yeah, there's basically the entire issue is basically Nightwing gets called to Gotham.
Yes, and he gets called to Crime Alley, which is where Batman's parents were killed. And Batman shows up and he's like, I didn't want my son to die here. He's like, I saw my parents die, I didn't want my son, which I thought was so powerful. Then Nightwing is like, oh, Oracle called me. I'm coming over because they know I do everything for her. And she's like, yeah, I'm not pushing it. But at the end, she's like, I'm pushing it. Sierra's Batgirl again. With a cane this time. So I'm like, yo, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy is a female? Yo. But when
I saw that, I'm like, has she been... I'm like, wait a minute. Did her and Tim get to talking during those few issues when Tim was in Bloodhaven?
I hate the fact that this is so connected to Fear State. Because Nightwing is shifting the status quo of his series. And he's like, I'm doing everything for Bloodhaven. And now we're back to Gotham. And I don't want him in Gotham, but I understand why he's there. So I'm like, if you guys are not reading Fear State, which I get, I totally understand why you're not going to read Fear State. This is not really playing into Fear State. It's a tie-in, but it's not pushing that narrative. So you can still read this if you still want to follow the normal Nightwing timeline. However, if it's the flip side and you're just reading Nightwing and you don't want anything to do, you can skip over this book. No problem. It's not doing anything for the normal Nightwing plot. You know,
I wouldn't say to skip over it because, depending on how Fear State plays out.
Well,
Barbara, especially where she's been such a heavy player in the Nightwing book. Like, could we see Nightwing and Batgirl teaming up a lot in his title? And then you would be like, okay, when in God's name did Barbara take up Batgirl again?
Right.
Spec Alert? I wouldn't even call it, Spec Alert, but like, this is important if nothing else, but for a couple of moments, we get to see how, despite their differences, how strong of a bond that Dick and Bruce have. And then we get to see Barbara taking up that mantle of Batgirl again, which I find extremely important.
How'd you like the book, Left 62? I love Dead Earth, but I have yet to get the hardcover. That's something that's on my hardcover agenda that I've never pulled the trigger on because I read it in floppies and I was like, I need the hardcover. Do you guys remember Barbara in Future State? I did not read much of Future State. That was a point in time where I was like, let me do this. Let me take a little break. I believe, what was she doing in Future State? Because I went back to read it like digitally, but I can't recall it off the top of my head. You can see Daniel Warren Johnson really doing heroic characters. Yeah, I could see it, but I could also kind of see him. Okay, it's whatever character Daniel Warren Johnson wants to talk about. It's like he's like if I have something to say about a character, I'm just gonna pitch it and see what. Okay.
Honestly, I could see him doing a little Doctor Strange mini if he had something to say about it. I feel like Doctor Strange could fit his art style a little bit.
Frank Tarrant did Punisher covers 97 to 102 at 87 series. Look at those. I'll have to go back. I'll have to go back and thank you for that, man. That's actually really helpful. Let's stick with Fear State. I read Batman number 113. This book is just we're gonna learn about Ghostmaker's history in Gotham, especially the fact that he's tied with Jonathan Crane, and Crane basically pitched this whole idea as a kid of the Fear State, and Ghostmaker's like, oh my god, I knew about this all those years ago. So we're learning about that. We're also learning that he's not using toxins. He's using like neurological programming. So it's kind of weird. So it's like kind of making a modern Scarecrow. We also figure out that he's not Scarecrow's not really mobile, right? As we saw from the costume design that was revealed a few months back. And I questioned, if you guys remember, how mobile he was going to be.
It was during the Infinite Frontier one shot.
Yeah, and
before all this even kicked off.
I said, I don't like this costume. It looks great, but he's not going to be mobile, which he doesn't need to be because he has the whole magistrate on his team. He has the peacekeeping task force, which we see one of them kind of getting subdued by that and tries to terrorize Gotham because that's where we left off in the previous issue. And we're taking care of that. And we're also seeing how they can overcome this, not toxin, but this neurological treatment, I would say.
Yeah.
So this story doesn't really push the plot forward. It just answers the questions we had about this event. So
so far Fear State's just kind of like, how I was really excited for it, but it's just kind of been meandering so far. It seems like.
Here's the thing. This is your last work from James Tynion on Batman because he's so heroically burned the bridge between him and DC. He's like, I'm done with this shit. Yeah, so I never knew how well liked Danny Warren Johnson is. Yeah, he's definitely had a greater fan base since doing Wonder Woman Dead Earth, because I don't think his fan base was so prominent post Murder Falcon and Extremity. Now that they're revisited, there's that, which I actually have them in my backlog. What's the backlog? I don't know. So I appreciate Fear State because James is trying to connect the pieces that he's playing with, that he's created. So I like it. You made me doubt myself, and I'm currently counting every interior comic James Steranko did, and I keep coming up with 32. Let me know if you find more. Becker, DM me on Instagram, ComixKings. I'd love to have this conversation about Steranko. He is one of my favorites, I would say, of the Silver Age. Which I know Steranko wasn't necessarily known a lot for his interiors. He did a lot of straight. What's up, Chad, the Canadian geek?
What's going on?
I know that Steranko wasn't really known as much for his interiors as he was for his covers. I appreciate what he did for the formatting of comics, because I think that's a piece that goes under so many people's radar about Jim Steranko. We know him for Polaris, we know him for Captain America, we know him for S.H.I.E.L.D., but we don't know for how he kind of introduced the way you format, kind of those little anecdotes we talked about earlier, that Spawn made that literally Tom McFarlane took influence too, or even the double page splashes that we see, right? Go back to S.H.I.E.L.D. number 2, and it's a great iconic comic book for the industry. Not a key issue, but for the industry, it is an extremely first look in comic books, right? 1968, perfect. How do I know this? Because I love Steranko. So we just got done talking about Batman. Do you want to talk about Batman the Detective for us?
I actually did not get to read Batman the Detective.
You did not. So I will talk about it. This book, Batman the Detective, the penultimate issue by Tom Taylor, Adam Kubert, inks by Sandra Hope, who's one of my favorite inkers. I love her work, especially what she did in Brad Meltzer's Justice League. However, I don't like the title of this book. That's my biggest issue. What I don't like about this book,
too similar to Detective Comics, or
no, because he's not really detecting. When you say Batman the Detective, I want a whole story of, okay, we are going to figure out a mystery. We're going to actually bring Batman back to his detective roots. This is just a fun Batman story. You could have called it Batman International, and you would have still given off the same vibes that you did.
Yeah, when I heard Batman the Detective, I was kind of hoping for like a murder mystery type deal.
This is a really fun Batman book. This is one of the better Batman books we have on the shelves right now. I would probably rank it Reptilian, the ongoing, and then this. And then
so I would put this above the ongoing.
But we have it. It's fun. It's fun. You could have called this Batman International. and you would have given out the same vibes. I love seeing Kubert on art because, we're getting a lot of Grant Morrison run vibes, which is great. It retconning a lot of the bigger parts of that, not retconning, but giving us a lot of the same art styles, and we're just dealing with more of the narrative. And the character that has been so close to Bruce this whole time kind of is flipping the script a little bit, so we're dealing with that in the next issue. If you guys are trade waiting this, I understand. I wish I did too. I wish
with
I
the
trade waited
delays,
this,
especially. Yeah.
Because with the delays, it's been so hard to keep up with. Also, because there's an abundance of Bat books out there, and you have to choose, let's say, 2 or 3. I don't know if I would pick a miniseries.
I would. Personally, that's just me. I like miniseries. Financially,
it's a good bang.
Financially, they're great if they can tell a good story. And I just thought of another type. You could have called it Batman Equilibrium.
We could have called it Batman Equilibrium. I miss Batman. So the day we will get Batman Ego again, I will jump I will jump for joy. But
Amalgam would be cool, Chad. Yeah, Amalgam would be really cool. But
this could have been Batman Europa. You could have called this bad. You could have called this so many different titles, but Batman the Detective was misleading. It's a great book. It's just my issue with that is you could have fixed it.
So another book that I really loved this week. I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. It was X-Men: The Onslaught Revelation #1.
Oh, we're gonna talk X-Book. Yay!
We are talking X-Books.
Hell yeah! Let's do it.
I love Nightcrawler. Good God, I love Nightcrawler. I relate to him a little bit with the whole Christian aspect. Same thing with Matt Murdock, Daredevil. But I like how, with all of this that's going on with Onslaught and Resurrection and everything that Krakoa, Fabian Cortez, yeah.
If you love Fabian Cortez, you're gonna love this book. If you hate Fabian Cortez, you're gonna love this book.
Yeah, because I hated Fabian Cortez up to this point. I found myself kind of feeling sorry for him.
That's the point of Fabian Cortez.
Exactly. Yeah, but I love how Nightcrawler is still, for somebody who looks like a devil and can teleport, he's one of the most grounded mutants in this entire age of Krakoa. He has been the one that I've felt like could fit in the most in a human society.
Right.
Which is weird because he looks like a blue demon.
Right.
And I feel like this book really brought that all together, where he is the moral center and arguably the most human of the mutants. And I think that's what this whole story's been about. So for those of you who don't know, it's basically Way of X #6.
Yeah, by same creative team, right?
Yeah, same creative team. Cy Spurrier, Bob Quinn.
And the art's gorgeous.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Art is gorgeous.
But yeah, do I want to talk about the end of it? Yes. So Nightcrawler doesn't really get his mutant religion that he set out for in the beginning, but he comes up with this
way of life.
Yeah, it's a mutant
way of X.
Yes, it's the Way of X. It's called the Spark. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It is the spark that keeps all mutants going, essentially. And so at the end of it, we get a tease for kind of a mutant church, but not really. It's kind of like
BWS. I have the Daredevil statue. This is an Adventure Man poster print that Terry Dodson gifted me. This is a Greg Horn print of Green Lantern. You can't see by the glare. I got an Angela figure right here from the original release of it, and my Daredevil statue. So that's my background. Sorry.
But yeah, no, you're good. But yeah, you're kind of getting like a mutant council of elders, more or less, called the Legionnaires. And
I wanted
the
Mark
Legionnaires
to be here when we talked about it. I wanted Mark to be here when we talked about it because I'm going to send it to him later, and I'm just going to say, we are Legion.
We are Legion. But yeah, also, I know I've been rambling about this book, but if this is a book I really feel like you need to read firsthand, with me not really going into the nuances of it. Yeah, everybody that brought that book is going to be confused if they didn't read Way of X, which there's footnotes in here. Somebody even says, if you're here, you read Way of X number 5, right?
Right.
And so maybe that'll put in people's mind where it's like, hey, I need to put this down and go read Way of X.
Yeah, so it's like their way of saying, oh yeah, if you missed out, go read it. Or it's their way of saying, you know what, slam this book down in frustration because we still got your money.
Also, bearded Nightcrawler.
Bearded comic, bro.
Bearded comic, bro. I love Nightcrawler with a beard. Can we keep this? Can we keep that for a while?
I picked this book up. I didn't read it because I don't like it. But X-Core number 5, I can't go without this whole run.
You're an X-Men completionist.
I am an X-Men completionist. But I read X-Men number 3 by Jerry Dugan, Pepe Larraz. You know, this amazing.
Marty Gracia, the best colorist at Marvel right now. Yeah, I said it.
Yeah. Yeah, you did. Hell yeah. Drop that mic, motherfucker. So we are right above Vietnam. That is where this... I didn't actually mean it. Come on, bro. So we are above Vietnam, and we are dealing... Oh, we got the vet in here. What is going on, good sir?
What's going on?
And we have the High Evolutionary. They are coming down to Earth because they're like, hey, we're your friends, right? And if we're not your friends, we're going to kill you guys. Because you did something great, giving us a Racco, but... You know, that's going to have some consequences because now you're one of us. You got to be friends with us. And if you're not, screw you. The X-Men are like, yeah, man, screw you. And Rogue has already met them. So Rogue and them don't like each other. So Rogue's like, oh, these guys are assholes. Go get them, guys. And I love this friendship between Polaris and Rogue that is just like unsung in here, but it's very subtle.
Yep. If Rogue says throw hands, we throw hands.
The JR interview. What are we referring to here? Because I did interview JR, but I don't remember a whole lot about it because I was very stressed out during that interview.
Yeah, real quick too about this book. If this keeps up, Sink is gonna end up being the MVP of this team.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna get to that. So Rogue's like, yeah, guys, let him have it. And Polaris just comes out the cut with like this metal thing, and she just creates and just goes boom. And I was like, yeah, go wifey. But anyway, that's me being a fanboy. Back to me being a normal comic book reader. Got it? Good. So we're dealing with it. We're getting this whole fight scene. Cyclops is going to town. X-23 is going to town, but then they start losing, right? And they're really there for Sync because Sync is probably one of the more powerful people on this team because he can adapt, right? He's the one that's going to survive. If anyone on this team is going to survive, I did have Daredevil behind me. I had a Daredevil number 1 behind me when I had the JR interview, I believe. Or no, I had a Daredevil. I think I had a Daredevil number 18. No, it was a Daredevil 18 because that was his first cover in Marvel Comics. Was the one where like Daredevil and Kazar meet up. JR is the man, and he will be returning to the show, which I can announce. Boom. So anyway, they're really coming for Sync's blood because they just want to analyze it and talk about it and discuss it because Sync is. I did sell my Daredevil number 1 today, not for $100, but I did sell it for a good chunk of it. I did sell it for so much needed cash, but. So when the Sync is like, wait a second, you guys didn't take my blood. X-23 or Laura, she's like, yeah, no. And Sync's like, oh, wait, you guys actually care about me? Great. Because not a lot of readers do. So
speak for yourself, man. I have loved Sync since that whole Children of the Vault.
That was really you and everyone else. But when Scott Lobdell brought him into the fold, everyone's like, who cares? We don't like you anyway.
Well, people were saying that to Scott Lobdell.
Yeah. But yeah, no one liked Scott Lobdell. Anyway, they got the blood and they leave. And we're learning about kind of this whole extension of like the Mojoverse of what it's called. And that alien plant guy we saw who kind of looks like a brood, but with half of its face cut off. And then we have Mr. whatever, Mr. What's his name? Mr. Garrick from New Mutants, and then we have this other guy named Mr. Stasis and Garrick, and they're talking about the Cyclops being resurrected and all of this resurrection. They're trying to study it for Orcus. And so we're going to be dealing with Orcus in the near future, which is going to be great because
they let Ben Urich in on that, don't they? Because I love seeing Ben Urich show up.
Yep. Not Ben Urich, but Garrick. Garrick from X-Men 19, Age of everyone else. So we're dealing with that, and we're going to be dealing with Orcus in the near future, which is great because that's calling us back to House and Pirates of X, something that Jonathan Hickman introduced and it just never got around right because he's doing his own thing. I have 2 more books to talk about.
Oh shoot! I'll tell you this dude looks like. It just hit me. The Cordyceps dude.
Yeah.
Well, that's because this game is about like Cordyceps zombies. The Last of Us. You ever played The Last of Us?
No.
Good God, buy a PlayStation just for that game.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend $400 on a PlayStation.
For The Last of Us, it's worth it.
No, it's not.
This looks like one of the clickers in The Last of Us. Okay, we'll just watch gameplay then, because that is honestly one of the best stories in general, but one of the best, like, it was Logan before Logan, essentially.
Reading all comics, realizing Marte Gracia is on the books that I like. That's like the best feeling ever.
Back me up here. Hype Last of Us up to Brandon real quick.
You know what? I will get to it once I actually see. Once I understand the value of having something I will never play, then I will buy it.
Okay, you know? just go on YouTube and watch like gameplay of it then, because honestly, you get this like the story itself is.
I think Fable just hit me with the spec value, so we're gonna.
Last of Us Cordyceps Jones first appearance.
Anyway, this is probably the longest show we've had. What's up, Battle 66 Delta? What's going on?
You know, we still got people. We still got people in here. We still got.
I know, and I got 2 more books to talk about.
I got one.
I got Do you want to? All right. I'll talk about Fantastic Four real quick. This is Fantastic Four number 36 by Dan Slott and Nico Leon, who I'm not too familiar with his work, but I got familiar pretty quickly. So we are basically playing off of, okay, Human Torch got he got put up in flames and he can't go back to his normal form. So he's his Human Torch form, not Johnny's. So that's what you get for. You saw the post. Apologies. You're good, man. Just glad you're here. I'm glad you are here. But what I was saying.
Thanks, man.
What I was saying is Human Torch, right? We're dealing with him in his form as that. So it's kind of a love letter to Johnny Storm and actually getting into his feelings as a character because we never do that. You know, Reed and Ben are trying to figure out how to cool him down, you know, literally, not pun intended, but kind of pun intended. And Franklin comes up with an idea that charges him back up as well as getting Human Torch back down. Now, if you guys remember from the run that this alien person, Sky, came down and her and Human Torch dated. Turns out Human Torch cheated on her during the whole duration of him sleeping with Dr. Doom's new wife, whatever's going on.
Yeah, that whole situation was just not good for Johnny Storm.
No, but now but she came back because she was also affected because Dr. Doom kind of screwed her over too. And she officially just says, you know, screw you. And Johnny is like in tears. He's going to cry, but he can't cry, which we never see Johnny cry. And the fact that he's actually in touch with his feelings and can't express them because he's in his Human Torch form and can't get out of it is very kind of touching. And I'm like, I actually, for the first time ever, feel bad for Johnny Storm. And just the last line, I'm going to read it to you guys. But there's a reason for that. He physically can't produce teardrops as long as he stays Human Torch. Johnny Storm doesn't get to cry. Like, I don't know. That just hit me.
That is horrible.
What's going on, TM Nerdy? By the way, get TM to 400. I believe he's like 5 away from 400. Get TM to 400. Which I'm sure everyone here subbed up to TM, but if not, sub up to TM. But yeah, I liked it. I'm all in on Fantastic Four. I think it's one of Marvel's top books that everyone's sleeping on. Definitely.
Fair enough.
But there's also the arc that was in the anniversary issue that a time traveler, right, of many Kangs came to attack them. And this new guy, Skyon, kind of being like the herald. And we look ahead and we see Mr. Fantastic's half-sister. So we're going to deal with that too. And I'm here for it.
All right. Sounds good, man. Yeah, I got catch up on some FF, man. I'm one of the ones that's been sleeping on it, but
TM hit 400. Yo!
Congrats, man. Congrats. All right, so my last book of the night, one I tried to talk about earlier, but it was so good I thought I'd save it. Moon Knight #3.
Oh, I interrupted you midway through.
Nah, you good, man. You good. I love this issue. This is probably the best issue of the run so far. Of course, we're only 3 issues in, but still, the whole run's been solid. This is one of the best places to jump into Moon Knight. I've read a few issues of the 1980 series, but this is pretty much where I jumped in. We're introduced to Hunter's Moon, who's the doctor that was in the first issue. That's his kind of Fist of Khonshu alter ego, because even gods have 2 fists. So this dude basically thinks that Moon Knight is an unworthy Fist of Khonshu, that he has pretty much botched his duties. And Moon Knight doesn't see it that way, and so they get into a little bit of an altercation.
Right. And
so, yeah, that's pretty much half the issue, is them fighting, battling it out, and basically, I think it was Hunter's Moon is upset with Moon Knight for protecting certain vampires.
Right.
Excuse me.
And basically, when they fight, Moon Knight defeats him, and he's like, "Yeah, come back when you're worthy to be a good villain to me."
Pretty much. He beats him over the head with a baseball bat, like pages after this dude says, "What is wrong with you?" Moon Knight, Mark Spector is basically like, "You really want to open that box? All right, here we go." Beats him over the head with a baseball bat, drags his unconscious body out of the building
in front of people.
Yeah, in front of people, and is like, "Here, I'll read you guys the last few lines on the last page here." It says, "So go, Fist of Khonshu, drag yourself from my temple and avoid my attention in the future, lest I become even more interesting."
Yeah, so basically he's like, "You are not worthy of my time."
He basically said, "It's like you think I'm interesting now? Really? Right. You have no idea."
And I'm telling you, this book gave off Batman vibes. It gave off Scott Snyder Batman vibes in particular. Because of the dialogue and the way that this book was formatted, I was like, this could have been a Batman book. This could have been a Batman book. This is Batman. But I get it. It's Moon Knight, and we're dealing with it. I liked it. Jen McKay's a great writer. Alessandro Cappuccio is doing a great job with the book.
Oh, yeah. Big Alessandro Cappuccio is going to be one of those artists that I would probably think about buying a book just for his art.
On a personal note, in situations like Travis's where you want something promoted, don't hesitate to send it to me to post. Just understand that I suck at the wizard box. So reels, stories. Yeah, I usually get more views on my regular posts than my stories. Like, I don't know. But good to see you here. Battle 66 Delta. Again, if you ever do want to, I got you, man. If you ever do want to talk, just DM me, DM Bryce. We're all open. But the last book that I do want to talk about is Bounty Hunters number 16 by Ethan Sachs and Paolo Villanelli. I hate the art in this book, but I enjoy the story. It was kind of a quick read, so it's kind of a flop too, because I don't enjoy books. I'm like, oh, this took me like 60 seconds of my time, and I got the gist and everything.
Unless it's Justice League Last Ride. That's a good quick read.
Right. So we're dealing with everything. So basically the whole plot is there's a bounty out there that Jabba put for Boba Fett because he failed to do his job. Boba Fett wants to find Han Solo, who is kept up at who's basically still kept up with the Hutts. So Boba wants her, not with the Hutts, with the syndicate, with the crime syndicates. Why am I blanking on their names?
Crimson Dawn?
With Crimson Dawn. He's still there with Crimson Dawn. Oh, gotcha, Promiscuous. I haven't read Bunny Mask, but
I've heard it's been a good series. I'm probably gonna pick up the trade because it ends next issue, doesn't it? Like Aftershock usually does 5-issue series.
Right. Thank you, Promiscuous. Stay tuned in the future for more. So basically, right, Valance wants to get Han. He wants to get Han, okay? And Dengar wants to get Boba. So they all meet up at Crimson Dawn, and they fight. That's really it. That's really all that happens.
Honestly, I'm looking forward to where I don't have to spend money on this book anymore. The only reason I'm getting it is because I want all of the War of the Bounty Hunters story. Right. Yeah. Because like these tie-ins for War of the Bounty Hunter are serious tie-ins. Like the stuff that happens in these issues greatly affect what happens in the main story.
Right. This book was very Dengar focused, I would say. But 62, thanks for being here. Appreciate you, my man. But yeah, that was really it. Other than that, that's really all I read this week. I read Miracle Molly. We got to know her by James Tynion and Danny. Just got to know her backstory as a mother and as someone who comes from a place of caring and wanting to do what's best for the world and getting misleaded. Basically, what we learned about Miracle Molly, something we didn't. It was stuff we already like had in mind. We're just like now more familiar with that story. But other than that, guys, I believe that's all I've read.
I read Radiant Black issue 8. Still really liked the book, although this issue was kind of like it was a direct continuation of the events in issue 7, and then that's pretty much it. What did you tell me to read, Travis? I'm drawing a blank on that right now.
But other than that, on Marvel Unlimited. Oh yeah, Miracle Molly was great. Miracle Molly is great, people. I recommend, and I love Miracle Molly. I think she's gonna be the next Oracle, and this book really leads me to believe that even more. And the events of Nightwing 84 lead me to believe that. And I know I'm right. This is one of those like kind of predictions. I'm like, I'm right, guys. Just listen to me. But other than that, what am I reading? I'm reading Daredevil by Mark Waid on Unlimited. I'm reading Bendis's New Avengers whole thing. On Marvel Unlimited, I'm reading Batman by Grant Morrison. I'm reading Green Arrow, Black Canary, Till Death Do They Part. Or what is it? No, not Renew. But yeah, Till Death Do They Part by Cliff Chang.
Yeah, Cliff Chang was the artist.
Judd Winnick's the writer. Yeah, the only secret files I'm getting. Yeah. 100%. So other than that, Sheena. Hey, Sheena.
What's up, Sheena? But yeah, I'm reading. I'm getting ready to start Invincible Compendium number 3. I've been reading that book for a while, but it's a book that I feel like with the amount of weight that it holds, I felt like I needed to take my time with it.
Right.
And so I'm getting ready to start that. I'm on issue 109 of Uncanny X-Men. Going to get back to that pretty soon. And then I'm about to start the second trade of Once and Future from Boom Studios.
Oh, that's a great book. I got to read that third one. But hell yeah, man. We definitely are reading a lot. And you guys know we're always reading for the show. Archives. I do announcement on Archives. So we are going to be doing Death Metal, which is led by Michael, the Love of Comics. And you guys are going to absolutely love it. If you guys want to check out that archive show, is where we take a book, we take a trade, and we take a complete breakdown of the book. We did Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky for our first episode. And then we did Shang-Chi, which was also a lot of fun. Which if you guys want to go back and catch that, it's up, it's loaded. And now we are doing Death Metal, which is going to be dropping Friday. And I'm actually super excited for all of you guys to see that. If I want to hype up one issue, it's going to be that.
You want to talk about
say goodbye with starting with Inferno, bro? Give it no. See, I would judge the X-Men after Inferno.
Yeah,
Wicked and the Divine.
Okay, yeah.
You need to read it.
I'm gonna go on a Kieran Gillen kick here pretty soon.
Yeah,
I'm gonna read Wicked and the Wicked and the Divine, and I'm gonna read Die.
Yes.
So, but yeah, you want to talk about the books, or we can talk about what we're picking up next week real quick, and then.
Let me pull up my list. Next week is the
29th. I've actually got mine right here if you want me to go ahead.
You go ahead first.
So I'm picking up Action Comics 1035, Thor 17, Robin number 6, which I think has probably been DC's most underrated book coming out. Star Wars number 17, Crossover number 8, Sword number 8, Inferno number 1, of course. And then maybe a couple picking up Deathstroke Inc. number 1, another Joshua Williamson book. All you Deathstroke fans out there, definitely. Adventure Man is finally back with issue number 5, so I'm definitely picking that up. And then other than that, I think that might be it for me this week. I've only got about 10 books, which is what I usually like to keep my pull list at. So this week I had 12. This past week I had 12. So it was a heavy week, but back down to my normal 10.
I have Berserker number 5, Something is Killing the Children number 20. There's a moth in here that is pissing me off. I have, that's it from Boom. From DC Action Comics, 1035, Batman Reptilian. Then I have Deathstroke. Then I have Detective Comics, which probably gonna be the last one because it's I don't think I care for that book anymore. I might give it to the end of Fear State. I'm not sure yet. I have Robin.
Dropped it with the whole Vile stuff.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. I have Superman, Son of Kal-El. I'm already at 8 books there. And then from Image, I have Adventure Man crossover, so I'm at 10 now. And then I have Spawn 322, Undiscovered Country number 16. Holy crap! Amazing Fantasy number 3, which I believe we're gonna have Cara Andrews on the show this coming week, so this coming Monday. ASM number 74, which is the Rabbit Expenses run. I'm so happy. I have Darkhold Alpha number 1. I have Extreme Carnage Omega number 1. I'm at 16 now. Wow, this is getting pretty lit. And I have Inferno number 1. I have Thor number 8, Star Wars 17, Thor number 17, Wolverine number 16. Holy crap, that's 21 books for me.
My God.
21 books. Yo, we got Nicole in here. What is going on?
What's
How are
up,
you doing?
Nicole?
And for those who were here and you guys missed earlier, we did have a special guest. We had Phillip Kennedy Johnson. Yay, Brandon is happy. And we had Phillip was here to talk about Alien, the new arc that just kicked off. Action Comics, which also is concluding their arc, and Extreme Carnage is also concluding this coming week. So Phillip is definitely a busy bird, and we got to thank him for it. He's putting out top-notch stories. I highly recommend jumping on him and his creativity and his writing.
I don't think he would appreciate that very much, but definitely jump on his books.
Okay, yeah, jump on his book. Don't jump on him. Thanks, Bryce.
He would appreciate that very much.
Thanks, Bryce.
You're welcome, man. That's what I'm here. It's what a co-host is for, is to make fun of the host.
You're the one who did the intro.
Huh?
You're the one who did the intro.
I did the intro, but it's your channel.
It's half your show. Actually, it's 75% your show.
I'm not even going to go into that math there. Oh, man. Don't jump on it. I love how the chat is just seeing our dysfunction right now. Guys, if you ever wonder what our friendship is actually like, it's 85% just me making fun of him and then him telling me to shut up.
Yeah, we had that today. But yeah, it was definitely a great week. I still got to check out Star Wars Visions, which I'm probably going to do shortly after this. I heard it was great. I heard it was so good.
I heard it was really good too. I still have some shows I need to catch up on, but I mean, if it's only 9 episodes, 30 minutes apiece.
Oh yeah, Team Nerd Herd. Team Nerd Herd have a show tonight. I gotta catch that on Rewind. A lot of stuff going on, you guys. But anyway, thank you guys for coming by. Over 2 hours. I think the first weekly wrap up we've had that goes on for over 2 hours.
Hey, we had some great stuff tonight. Great conversation. Great books. I mean,
LOL, Travis. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here. If you're new, subscribe to the channel because it helps us out. Give it a like. Comment what you read down below, what you are looking forward to the next week so we can keep this thing going. Stay tuned, you guys. Also, Missing Link and I have a video that we should hopefully be recording tonight. I'm going to hit him up right now and see if he wants to record it because we have Whiplash Wednesday on Wednesday that we do have to get ready for as well. Thank you guys so much for being here. Take care, you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a good one.